Well, basketball hoopsters, the Big D is back with a Final Four preview. Before I bring in today's special guest this morning, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. See all my content. Masters Week coming up next week, so you know I'll be bringing out the drive with the 3-wood, maybe a pitching wedge. Also, check out the Big D podcast for all your audio listeners on Spotify and Apple. So if anybody has been watching the 2023 NCAA tournament, the only thing maddening than seeing our brackets bust away is all these teams nobody's heard of make the Final Four. I mean, Miami, San Diego State, Connecticut are playing the Final Four, and there's one other team left. And here to talk about Florida Atlantic's historic trek to the Final Four is my friend Isabella. Isabella, welcome.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Isabella and I met each other on Saturday night when she shouted at the Florida Everblades game and told me she was an FAU fan, and I'm like, no way, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited they're in the Final Four. I'm gonna watch the game tomorrow, but definitely unexpected. I don't think anyone was expecting that.
I've got a question. You might not be able to remember, but a decade ago, when my school FGCU made the Sweet 16, Charles Barkley asked, I think it was Andy Enfield and Sherrod Brown, where the heck is FGCU? So, Isabella, obviously, for us Floridians, we know what FAU is, but where the heck is FAU?
Yeah, so FAU, it's right in Boca Raton. It's, 2 miles from the beach. But yeah, it's right in the center of Boca. And yeah, it's a pretty small school. It's not small, but not big, right in the middle.
How far is it off A1A? How far is
Um,
it off A1A?
it could be. I think it is. Yeah.
So tell us about FAU basketball because until this year, I'm not sure many people had heard of FAU.
Right, yeah. So this year I went to the basketball season. I'm a senior, so I've gone to the games before, but this year they really just picked up they joined together as a team. The coach is amazing. They started winning games. They were on a winning streak. I'm sure you're aware of that. And I went to the games when they were on the winning streak, and then they just kept going, and I can't believe they're still on their streak, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every year there's one or two mid majors just winning and winning and winning. I'm like and I saw this year like FAU's like 31-3, 32-3, 33.
Right.
I'm like if you guys win your conference tournament, you're going to get a half decent seed in the tournament.
Right, and they did, and they won their first game in the March Madness, and then they beat Tennessee, and yeah,
Yeah, it's funny about that first game because the Owls were trailing Memphis with 7 seconds left, and I'm like, this is not going to end well because
right,
it's 8-9 games always where chaos happens. And then FAU ended up winning the game, and I'm like, what?
right, and then they won again, and then they won again, and yeah, then they're playing tomorrow. So the first win was definitely unexpected, maybe the closest game, but I'm not sure. It was their FAU's been playing really well. They always kind of finish out strong, which obviously is important in winning a game.
Yeah, so tell us. Wait, let me see if I can get. Oh, my laptops. So tell us about your coach Dusty May, because obviously, if a team makes the Final Four, you've got to have a good coach. So tell us about Dusty May because it seems like he's got his troops ready to rumble.
Right, yeah. Like you said, I think he's really done a great job in bringing the team together because this team has been playing together for a few years now. So I think he did a great job in making them play as one, putting them in the right positions. And he also, from what I can tell, seems to use his timeouts wisely. And I think he's been leading the games in the March Madness very well for FAU.
Well, I mean, one key play I look at is after timeout, or as we like to say, ATO. Because if you can get an automatic 2 points or stop the
Right,
from getting 2 points, might be the difference in cutting down the nets and watching the Final Four.
right.
I mean, I'm not sure how much of a basketball fan you all, but is this the craziest tournament you've ever seen? Because they're
It
a
is.
4 seed, 2 5s, and a nine, and you guys left in the Final Four.
It is, yeah. It's funny because I grew up watching basketball. I was a big Syracuse fan, so I've made many March Madness brackets, and I made one this year, and my bracket, like everyone else's, is very messed up.
Wait a minute, wait a
Even
minute,
going,
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I've got to honestly answer this question. Who was in your Final Four?
who's in my final four?
Now, who
It
was in
was
your Final Four before the tournament started? Because we know it's gone to, because nobody's got the Final Four unless you're an IBM guy.
right, yeah.
Maybe IBM Watson.
Yeah, I don't even, let me see. I don't really remember. I haven't even looked at my bracket, honestly, because it was so messed up. But I had UConn going to the final four. And then I had, let me I didn't the only one I had in the final four was UConn. All the rest of the teams I did not get that right. I don't know. I don't really remember though. Did you make a bracket?
Yes, and it fell by the wayside. All my Final Four teams were gone by the Elite Eight.
Okay.
I had Kansas, Alabama, Texas, and Marquette.
Okay. I had Texas too. I didn't have Marquette. Um,
Yeah, because you knew FAU was going to win in Madison Square Garden anyway.
oh yeah, I was predicting that for sure.
How far did you have the Owls going? Because obviously you were in the same pod with Purdue.
Right. I only had the Owls. I had them losing to Tennessee. That I did, because I go to FAU, I was like, okay, let's kind of risk it, go out there, put them going kind of far. I didn't know if they were gonna get that far, but I had them losing, like, in that area. But yeah, I didn't know if obviously it's the first time FAU is going to the Final Four, and they're a really small school, so I didn't know if they were gonna succumb to the pressure or not. That was kind of my biggest concern watching the team because it's a young team, first time going to the Final Four, a lot of pressure. So I didn't know how they were gonna do in this tournament, but they succeeded my expectations.
Who are some of your key players? Because when I think of FAU, I don't think of necessarily one player, but there are 4 or 5 guys who could get you 14 or 15 points a game.
Right. And that's the thing about FAU is I don't think people realize that there's multiple players that put points on the board. Elijah Martin is one who seems to do really well in the games. But yeah, like you said, like if I forgot what game it was, but if the team's falling behind, someone always tends to throw up shots, like and score. Like you said, there's multiple good shooters.
I mean, Davis. I mean, think back to the Kansas State game where Martin led the team with 17.
Right.
Greenlee scored 16. Golden scored 14. Davis scored 13. So there's not one guy where the defense can say, "Stop him."
Stop him, stay on him. Because if they do that to one player, then they'll just pass the ball to the open man, and then he usually ends up scoring. And their 3-point shooting has also been really well in the tournament. So, yeah, they have a lot of strong shooters.
How about rebounding from that Kansas State game because you doubled up the Wildcats?
Right. I don't really know how to Golden. He's a sophomore, number 50. I don't know how to say his first name.
See, I might be able to help.
I don't know if you know him, but he's the big guy on the court.
Vladimir
He's one of
Vassov,
the players. Yeah.
Golden.
What was that?
Vladimir, I'll say Vladdy.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I wasn't really sure how to pronounce it, but he's definitely under the rim a lot, getting those rebounds, and he's been putting them back up too. So
So how has how has FAU turned from just a regular school on the East Coast into what, a basketball haven the past
right,
few?
and it's so interesting because no one's heard of FAU. You're like earlier, like what's FAU? No one's heard of it. People are like, what's FAU? And it's interesting because now when I wear my FAU stuff, my FAU jacket, my FAU shirt, people are like, oh, like FAU's in the Final Four. Like they know what FAU is. So it's interesting that now that they're in the Final Four, the school's getting more attention. So when I wear my stuff around, people are like, oh, like good luck in the Final Four. So it's really interesting how them doing so well in the tournament has really brought attention to the school.
Yeah, because I looked it up. You guys play in like a 25,600 seat arena.
Right. Right. It's very, like I said, I went to the games. It's not an arena where people go and watch the games. It's a pretty small arena. Like most of the attendance is usually students. It doesn't really bring in a large public crowd. But this season was very, very different. Once we started winning, like you said, they had a winning streak. Once that winning streak was happening, the crowd started selling out in that small arena.
And then it creates a home court atmosphere because you've seen with some of these teams, whether it be Syracuse and to say they Duke, Kansas, or Kentucky, you get a home crowd, and all of a sudden you're not losing. You're not losing. You're beating everybody.
Right, it makes such a difference. I know a lot of students, FAU students are going to Houston to watch FAU for the Final Four. They're getting their tickets, they're flying out there. So
Are you?
I'm not. I unfortunately work, so I'll be watching from home. But a lot of people are going, which is great. That's great that FAU will have some support there.
I've got a question. How much are those kids spending on Final Four tickets? Because I've heard like the Final Four tickets aren't what they could be based on who's
Right.
in the Final Four, maybe more so who's not in the Final Four.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think obviously people were expecting number one and two seeds to be in the Final Four, which, are bigger teams. You can charge more money. I don't know exactly how much they're paying, but not much. Like you said, I think you can get student tickets, like because you are part of the school, for like $50 to $60, which is nothing for a Final Four, ticket. But yeah, like you said, I think a lot of people are going because it is not expensive. So.
And this might be the one and only chance you can see your team in the Final Four. So
Right, right. I mean, having going to college and having your team be in the Final Four, like the school that you go to while you're in school, is very, very cool. I never thought that would happen, especially going to FAU.
do you think it's even crazier that there are two teams in the same in the same region, FAU and Miami, competing in the same Final Four?
Yes, yeah, I was talking to someone about that yesterday. It's crazy how out of the whole tournament, there's two teams from South Florida. From South Florida, not just Florida, but South Florida in the Final Four. Like I mean, we'll see what happens. It'd be crazy to have a Florida show off, but that's crazy. Out of the four teams, two of them are from South Florida.
I mean, it just I don't know if it's just a coincidence or what, but what you think of Miami being Miami, Jimmy Larinaga, and your school with Dusty May? I mean, it would be crazy if FAU and Miami played for the
Right.
Natty on Monday night, and that could happen because you guys play San Diego State, Miami plays UConn.
Right. Yeah, and FAU playing San Diego State, it's definitely going to be an interesting game. They've beat higher ranked teams, obviously, like they beat Tennessee, which does have a higher ranking than San Diego, I believe, right? So it'll be interesting to see them play. And if FAU does beat San Diego, which they have a good chance to, then they'll be in the championship, which is insane, you know. I'm actually waiting. I want to buy merch, you know, Final Four shirt, but I'm waiting to try to do the championship shirt, hoping for the best, you know.
The one thing I would say about San Diego State is that San Diego State will basically not give up any threes because I saw them basically suffocate Alabama, which might have been the best team in college basketball this year.
Right.
They basically didn't give up anything. Like San Diego State's going to slow down the game. Not that FAU can't play a slow game, but you guys are going to have to walk away in the shot clock and really get good ball movements. And San Diego State suffocating defense can't just annoy you guys. It's going to have to be maybe better ball movement. Come on.
Right. Yeah, and also I think FAU will have to. Sometimes I've noticed they are rushing their pace a little bit. It seems like their pace is, you know, and that leads to turnovers. So if they play their own pace and pass the ball around, because they have so many sufficient shooters, hopefully they'll be able to get some points in the basket.
Because FAU turned the ball like 22, 23 times against Kansas State, and now you're playing San Diego State's ferocious defense.
Right, you really have to. I mean, turning the ball over, some of those mistakes are really avoidable. So hopefully that's something that, I mean, obviously nerves are going to play a part in it, but hopefully that's something that they focus on.
And you know this because I mean growing up being a Syracuse fan, you know, shooting in football stadiums is different than shooting in basketball arenas.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The Syracuse Carrier Dome, you know, I've been there. That's an amazing dome, but yeah, there definitely is a difference.
Maybe that's why Syracuse always shot well in the Final Four.
Yeah, no, when I was younger, they were really at their top of their game. They were in the tournament like all the time, Final Four a lot. So, yeah.
Cool. So, what would a national championship mean for FAU? Because I mean, it's it's one thing if Florida State, Miami wins national championship, but what about FAU? How would it be if the Owls cut down the nets on Monday night?
Yeah, you know, it's obviously would be for the school, like it bring a lot of attention to this school. The campus life on school is already improving, you know, because FAU is doing so well. I think a lot of people are going out more, like socializing more. There's a watch party. People seem to be enjoying the campus life more while FAU is doing like so well. So if we win the championship, I just think that will be amplified on campus. I think there'll be a lot of things going on. I think there'll be a lot of good energy. And I think it will also make people want to come to FAU maybe. If I don't know, maybe if you're a young basketball player and FAU did do that well, maybe people will want to come here and play with the team. I'm not really sure because, you know, it hasn't happened and FAU is a smaller school, so I don't know if people will just think FAU got lucky, you know, if they just, you know, kind of got the luck of the draw, but yeah, campus life is already so lively right now. So if they win the championship, I think that will definitely be amplified.
I'm gonna. How about How about these stats? FAU could be the first team to play for the national champ to enter the NCAA tournament without any NCAA tournament wins and play for the national title. Be the first team to do that since Indiana State in 1979. And you know who was on that team? Larry.
Who? Wow.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got one more stat for you.
Yeah.
FAU could be the first program to enter the tournament without any NCAA tournament wins and cut down the nets since Loyola accomplished it in 1963. And we know what
Wow.
those guys did a couple years ago with Sister Jean.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. The FAU could really do that if they win tomorrow and then in the championship. I didn't know that. That's crazy how they've gone so far and they've played well in the tournament.
So, what are your plans tomorrow? Obviously, you and I are going to be watching the same game.
Yeah, FAU is having a watch party, it's in the auditorium. A bunch of students are gathering together and watching it together. I think I'm gonna do that because then it's like you're watching the game, almost kind of like you're there because then you have hundreds of other people around you watching and rooting for the same team. So I think I'm gonna do that. I think a lot of FAU students are gonna go for this game. They were there for the Elite Eight game, so for the Final Four, I'm sure it's gonna be even more busy. So it will be fun to watch the game with surrounded by FAU students.
Yeah, and you guys are going to be flying there, right? Because our owls.
But yes, soaring. Yeah, yes.
I don't know what's with all these schools in like South Florida being birds because Miami, Sebastian the Ibis, your school an owl, and my school an eagle.
The eagle. Yeah, there is a lot. Yeah, that is interesting. I never realized that, but the bird is a common symbol, I guess, in Florida.
Now maybe if we could get it, now maybe if we could get Florida FSU and USF on our side, right?
I don't know if that's gonna happen, but it'd be great.
Yeah, the University of South Florida Bald Eagles.
Get all the Florida schools on the same train.
That would be a first, right? All right, Bella. So thanks for hopping on. We wish you FAU well tomorrow, and I think it would be cool if FAU you cut down the nets and just made history. This
Right. Yeah, it's exciting. History making, it's always cool when a team can do something different and make history and surprise everyone. So we will see.